Hi, I'm Sue Resig, and I've got some interesting substitutions for you today. Sometimes in baking, there's ingredients that are called for that we don't want to use. We don't want to use dairy products anymore, like milk. We don't want to use eggs anymore in our baking. And we may not want to use oil anymore. So I actually have 3 substitutions that have come in really handy at making some changes. My husband still enjoys some baked goods, and in order to satisfy his sweet tooth, I'm not talking fancy baked goods, I'm talking cornbread. And this is a really nice gluten-free cornbread mix that I get from our grocery store called Wegmans, and it makes up nicely. I have found a number of these substitutions work well if I want to make pancakes for them. So I just thought that they would come in handy for you. So I want you to know what I'm going to do. So this calls for 3/4 of a cup of milk. What I'm going to substitute is 3/4 of a cup of water plus 2 tablespoons of oatmeal. That's the equivalent of making oat milk, okay? Now you can't just put in the oats whole into the recipe and expect it to work. They have to be ground up, just like you're making oat milk. And if you have a substitution for milk on hand, of course you could use that, but I like making my own because it's inexpensive and it's so easy. If I was making oat milk to drink and have in the refrigerator, then you'll have to go watch that other recipe. I've got that one that tells you how to make oat milk for having on hand. But in order to use it in a recipe, I just need to blend oats and water together, and that's good enough. I don't have to worry about flavoring it. And then the other thing, now I'm getting it ready to puree, but because there's other ingredients in this recipe, I'm just going to do it all at once. The next ingredient it calls for is the egg, 1 large egg. Well, there's the substitution that you can use for eggs, and that's flaxseed ground with water. And you want to use 3 tablespoons of water with a heaping tablespoon of flaxseed. So I've already got the 3/4 cup in there that I need for my milk. So I'm going to add my 3 tablespoons of water to count as the egg. There we go. Uh-oh, I should have dried that out. Used it dry to get my flaxseed first. Give it a quick dry. All right. And then a heaping tablespoon of flaxseed. There we go. And they stuck a little bit. Get them in there. So what I'm going to do is get that ground first and then add my liquid to it. I found, because it's such, I could use my bigger, more powerful blender and I'd put it all in at once, but I like this just for easy little projects. And it's not powerful enough to put the liquid and the seeds in to do it all at once. So I'm just going to grind it real quick. Maybe. Good enough. And then what I do is add the liquid to that. I tried doing it the other day, putting the liquid and the oatmeal and seeds in all at once, and it just spun it around. It didn't do the job. I'm just going to give it one more quick blend. See how goofy it's acting? All right, so there's my milk, there's my egg, and then it calls for 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. And here is I substitute organic plain applesauce, unsweetened organic applesauce, and that's what I'm putting in here. And I just realized it said 1/3 of a cup, and I grabbed 1/4. So the difference between 1/3 of a cup and 1/4 of a cup is 1 tablespoon and 1/3. Here's what I'll do. All right, I'll make sure I have the right amount in there. Let's add that milk. And this will make a really nice cornbread. We tried it for the first time the other night, and it was awesome. My husband loves cornbread, so that's a treat for him. Now, I don't want to take the time to stir that up. I'm just going to put it aside. We don't need to watch me mix it up because you're not going to see the end result. Trust me, it's going to be great. But I I want to show you something else. This is another yummy recipe that is a desperation night. I don't know if you need the story or not, but I was having a bad night with the beans I was making. I wanted to make a bean soup, and I'd soaked them. I put them in my Instant Pot. I'd cooked them for the amount of time it called for. In fact, I cooked them longer, and I checked them, and they weren't done yet. And it's like, well, this is strange. So I cooked them even longer. Long story short, dinner was going to be 8 o'clock at night. So I had to whip up something. And so I made the cornbread, and what I made was a corn sauce. And I don't want to call it gravy. It's more like, it's like cream corn. It's like chunky cream corn, and it was so good. And we put it over the cornbread and ate that for dinner. So here's how I made that. And I'm actually making a bigger version of it. I used a half a can of corn for each part, but we really liked it, and I want to have leftovers, so I'm using a whole can. The point is, you want 1 can with the liquid, okay? And I'm using organic. I know it's still not ideal because it's canned, but it's what I have on hand right now. Frozen would be better. You have to add a little liquid to it to get it to work, or ideally would be fresh in the summer, but you know what? That's a long ways from now. So this is what we're doing. There, done. That's easy, isn't it? And then I took the other can and I drained it so there's no liquid in the other can of corn. So it's not totally liquid, but it's definitely you know, it's sloopy. Is that a good word? Sloopy. There we go. Do that. Get myself a spoon. And it just makes a really nice chunky cream corn. But it's like a sauce. And what we did is we just heated this up on the stove and spooned it over the cornbread for dinner. I don't know what that is. Pepper, I guess. And man, was it tasty. And I seasoned it. And this is my homemade butter blend. And this is one of those recipes that I put on recently. I called it butter replacement. Gerson approved butter replacement because there's nothing in there that you can't have if you're on Gerson. Now, granted, Gerson, you're not going to be eating canned corn, but for your family can have it, even if you can't. If you're on Gerson, you're not going to be eating this. You have to wait until next summer when you get fresh corn. But if you have a family that's looking for something to eat, this is something you can quickly whip up that you don't have to feel bad about. They could eat it over potatoes. It would be awesome over broccoli because it'd be like the corn and broccoli casserole. And it kind of tastes like that when you put it all together. So there you go. I just season it. I'm going to heat this up on the stove. We're about ready to have dinner. My bean soup. We still have the bean soup. It actually turned out finally. So we're going to be having bean soup with our cornbread. And I got collard greens tonight. We're going to have those for dinner too. Because you know that collard greens are my favorite. I'm going to get this mixed up, get it in the oven, and that's it. So I hope the substitutions were helpful for you, because I know things come up and you wish you knew what you could do. And so it's the applesauce, equal parts applesauce for oil. It's a heaping tablespoon of flaxseed with 3 tablespoons water for an egg. And then the oatmeal, I usually figure about 2 tablespoons oatmeal per cup of water. In this case, it was 3/4 cup, close enough. It's not hard and fast. So that's it. We'll see you guys later. Have a good night. Here's a little bit more to show you how I prepared my collard greens tonight. I just finished cutting the stems out of this whole stack of collard greens, and I saved one back to show you how I did it. So I lay my collard green down. I just cut down one side, cut down the other, like that. We're all set. It makes it much easier to prepare. And then what I do is I take my stack, depending on how big they are. This is a nice, these are smaller leaves, they're manageable. I lay them on their side and I roll them up tight like a cigar. like that. And then I'm going to cut off the ends. See, I make them nice. I wish I could cut them even thinner. I'd like to have them to be more like 1/8 of an inch, but I'm gonna just cut them up quickly here. They're between 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch. There, all ready to go into my pan. Here's the pan. I'm gonna toss them in there. I would normally use a little Hippocrates soup, but I'm all out, so I need to make some. But I'll just use a little bit of water, and I'm gonna put in some garlic with that. And I'm gonna show you a tip on how to peel your garlic more easily, how to peel and cut your garlic more easily. If you haven't seen this before, you probably have. And at least maybe you've heard of it if you haven't seen it. I don't need that many, I just need a few. There you go. I got 3 good sized cloves. You can opt to cut off that stiff section a little bit where it came off the bulb. But I sometimes just get it started a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just lay it down flat like that on my board. And I lay my knife blade down flat on top of it like that. And then I'm going to hit it with my fist. And that crushes it. You see how that looks, how that got crushed? And it opens it up, so it makes it easy for me to get the paper off of it. It just peels right off like that. And because now that it's flat, it's a lot easier to cut up. So I just give it a few chops one way, a few chops the other way. A lot easier than chopping up a round clove of garlic like that. See how nice that turned out? Nice minced garlic. So I thought you'd appreciate seeing that. It's kind of a fun little trick. I don't mind fixing garlic when it's like this. There we go. Look how easy that peels off. Too bad you can't do that with onions, huh? All right, dinner's ready. I thought you'd like to see how the cornbread turned out. That turned out beautiful. Doesn't that look nice? And then here's our collard greens. There's our bean soup. And there's our corn sauce. And over here on the counter, we have a salad to go with some nice purple cabbage and raisins in it. So that's our tasty dinner tonight. See you later.